We're back. New episode of Watcha with Jill K and Dr. Ross Mikey C drops Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Ross Mikey C Radio.
Just a perfect day. Drink wine in the park. Then later, when it's dark, we go home. Just a perfect day. Feed animals in the zoo. Then later, a movie too, and we go home. Oh, yeah, a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on. Oh, yeah. Just a perfect day. Problems all left alone. Weekends on our own. It's such fun. Just a perfect day. You made me forget myself. I thought I was someone else, even someone good. Just a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. Yeah, you just keep me hanging on. Hey, hey. Just what you sow, don't you know? Hey, hey, you're gonna reap just what you sow. Hey, hey, don't you know? Oh, you're gonna reap just what you sow. Oh, glad to know that. Hey, hey. You're gonna reap just what you sow, don't you know? So long, baby, so long. You're gonna reap just what you sow.
I can still picture that day. It was a cloudy one in the month of May. Wrapped in your cover where the future lay. There I was, neatly tucked away. You said, hold on, I'll be right back. The final moments of your innocence. The rest is history, as the people say. Now we're left with this price to pay. Follow my heart, follow my gut. The intuition never failed me yet. That I can safely bet. Let down my presence left that woman's bed. I should have never slept. Now she's my one regret. I'm a man who believes in giving second chances, but I've learned to be more careful when it comes to romances. You put me once and dared me to jump in a second time. You promised me that you would keep me from drowning. Once a fool, twice a child, I willingly trusted. And for your flesh I hungrily lusted. Everything could change in a matter of a moment. I didn't want to buy, but now I have to own it. Follow my heart, follow my gut. The intuition never failed me yet, that I can safely bet. Let down my guard, my presence left that woman's bed. I should have never slept. Now she's my one regret. What still remains, feelings of pains and memories that I just can't forget. No, I just can't forget. Let down my guard, my presence left that woman's bed. I should have never slept. Now she's my one regret. My one regret. She's my one regret. My one. She's my one regret.
Greetings, blessings, and salutations. Tanaistilin, Ulum Sawach, all the people. We are back and black, and this is What You Say with Jewel K.
And Dr. Ross Mikey C.
Yes. Here we are again to have another podcast episode, which I call Suncast, here on Ross Mikey C Radio. And today's topic of discussion is what, Jewel K?
So I'd love to chat about perfectionism and regrets and what that looks like in our personal lives, in our careers, and how that impacts both either positively or negatively.
Well, great topic of discussion. And as you can see, we just opened up the show with 2 songs that deal with those particular topics. The first one was called Perfect Day by Al Green. Speaking about a perfect day, what exactly is that? For Al Green, he woke up to a perfect day that day, so he wrote a song about it.
I wrote a song about like to here you go.
Like to here go. Back. Oh, that was one of my favorite things on In Living Color.
Yes. Quick story. Did you know that the Super Bowl performances as we know them now were created because in Living Color, they started their show the time that halftime would be for the Super Bowl, and it drove all of the audiences, like all the audience to their show. Yep. Mm-hmm. Isn't that hilarious?
That is hilarious. Yes. So we heard Al Green, Perfect Day, in the first song. And the second song, we came in with my producer, none other than Kenny Allen, and his album Calorama that he released, I think, a year ago. And the song was called One Regret. So we went from The Perfect Day with Al Green to One Regret and Kenny Allen. And those are the 2 kind of topics that we're discussing today, this idea of perfectionism and regrets. So Jewel, how do you understand, define, and apply perfection in your life?
I would say, as an overview, being and working to be my best self all the time.
Makes sense.
But sometimes it can cause stress.
Yeah. And so I believe that stress comes from judgment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I oftentimes like to ask people, imagine being able to live your life without judgment. Because from the very first time that you're taught the difference between yes and no, you're kind of taught to judge. So I feel that the notion of perfection aligns with how we judge ourselves. And my question is, where does the concept of perfection actually come from? Where does your concept of perfection come from, Jewel?
I think it comes from a couple of different places. And this is something that I've discussed with my therapist quite a bit, because he will tell me, especially if we're talking about like in my career, I have to be at 110% all the time. And he was like, well, what about if you were like 80-20? And I was aghast. I'm like,
but pause.
God.
Who told you, or how did you get it into your head that you had to be 120 at all times? Like, where does that come from?
Well, it's like the origin story. I've tried to unpack that. And to be honest, I don't know. I can't trace it. I can't trace a specific situation or incident where there's something that happened that like made me shift from feeling like I'm just existing or I can just exist and figure out life. Okay, I need to be on top of my shit all the time.
You just talked about existing. So they call us human beings. So I feel like our responsibility is just to exist and to be with a purpose, of course. But this notion of attempting to be something or someone is based upon some sort of outward influence. You know what I mean? Like, so our standard of perfection or our standard of success oftentimes comes from an outside source. And usually those outside sources are going to be aligned with the different sort of institutional settings that are a part of our upbringing, i.e. school, i.e. church, i.e., mental institutions or hospitals or prison institutions, or even a home institution. These things are going to fortify our understanding of ourself in relationship to the concept of perfection.
I realize that I get frustrated by not knowing what I don't know. But the funny thing about it is that, like, for instance, with my teams or with any of my friends, I will tell them, hey, you can't know what you don't know. That's the process of life. And like, that's why, we do these things. Somehow I can't take my own advice sometimes.
I think that's probably true for most people, I would think, is that it's easier to give advice to somebody else than to practice what you preach, as they say,
And I'm being really sincere when I say that. I really mean it, but it's not, but sometimes it's really difficult to turn that in and give myself grace.
Yes, but what is grace? Undeserved favor. You know what I mean? Like, it's essentially what it is. And to me, we deserve to give ourselves grace or favor all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's well deserved for us to give ourselves some space for growth, so to speak, or give ourselves some space to just be, the whole concept of a human being.
Yeah, instead of a human doing.
Exactly, a human doing.
So I would like to know what perfection or perfectionism means to you.
So in my experiential understanding, the concept of perfection and to be perfect, I think, relates to the understanding of how human beings view God, the Most High, Amlak, Allah, whatever we call the Creator. I think there is a general notion that the Creator and everything that the Creator has made is perfect. So our understanding of perfection is in relationship to the all-knowing, all-seeing Creator of all things. And if we view the Creator as perfect, then the concept of us being perfect is askew. We will never be perfect because we are not the Creator. Yes, we are creators, but not the Creator. So in essence, the idealism of perfection, to me, everything is perfect the way that it is, meaning that everything is created the way that the Creator made it for a purpose. There's a lesson to be learned from it. But we're sold this idea that we need to be perfect, but it's a goal that's unattainable. We can't achieve perfection. There's this idea of practice makes perfect, but not to me. To me, practice makes permanent. But with that note, I want to pause really quickly and play a song called Practice Makes Perfect.
All right.
So this song is by Little Benny, and it's DC GoGo music. So, that's near and dear to my upbringing in the DMV.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to play this GoGo song, Practice Makes Perfect by little Benny and come back and talk a little bit more about perfection with Jewel K.
And Dr. Ross Mikey C.
Yeah, they doing it for Virginia, representing the VA. You know how they do in the DMV. Yeah. Little Benny with practice makes perfect. I love how they put like the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do at scale in there. Because, you know, the whole concept of being a singer, they talk about being pitch perfect as a singer.
Yeah.
You know? So this is What You Say with Jewel K.
And Dr. Ross Mikey C.
And we're talking about perfection. You just heard Practice Makes Perfect by Lil Benny. And we're just in a conversation about where perfection lies in our life and what role it plays in our career and in our path and how we view ourselves. So, Jewel, let's turn the lens back to you.
Yeah, because I wanted to speak on something that you were saying too before we went to music break. That like I get we are made perfect or perfectly the way we are.
Right.
However, we are still supposed to strive. You know.
I don't disagree.
And
strive for purpose, not for perfection.
Okay.
I think living in purpose is perfection. And I think that as a species, humans that are being, I don't think that we focus on our purpose for existence. We focus on some idea of success or perfection that has been implanted into our head based upon our institutional upbringing.
I can see that. Yeah.
Do you see that now?
Yeah. It's permeating.
Well, you know, that's what I was saying before in the beginning is that imagine being able to live your life without judgment. I mean, imagine if you just went through life just existing and just being and were allowed to figure out how you connect to life around you, to people, to other animals, to creation, if you were allowed to just be and figure it out on your own.
Yeah, I definitely believe that a large part of it for most people institutionalized when we're in school, because if you don't get good grades, then you don't even get to move to the next grade. You know,
standardization. That's part of what I'm talking about. Yeah, in an institution, especially in the United States of America, we have what is known as standardized education. It's not like Montessori school where it's equitable, where somebody's meeting you where you are and working with you to get you the information in the way that you learn, working with how you learn independently, as opposed to creating a standard and all children have to meet this standard or they can't advance in life. And you're not successful if you don't meet the standard and you don't advance.
And there's like, you get like a dopamine hit.
Exactly.
I'm realizing like from, you know, because it's like, okay, if you are constantly operating in the 99 percentile, because that's what they show you, you know, when you take your whatever tests, they show you, okay, this is where you fall and or where you land. And so it's like, if you're used to being in the 99 percentile, then you are 99%. The way you test, the way you think, you know, the way you learn, the way you communicate, you are basically near perfection. And it can be jarring when you don't.
If you're using the 0 to
those metrics.
Exactly, those metrics as your standard, you know.
But if you're not taught other metrics, then you don't know that there's a different way to, you know. And then it's very cyclical.
But what you said though, Jewel, if you're not taught any other metrics, meaning that in order for you to think something different, you have to be educated on that thing. So in institutions, we are learning the information that's going to allow us to be functional within the institutional setting. We're not going to learn information that's going to push us to rebel. That doesn't work within the concept of why the institution exists. This is why standardized education is the way that it is. And this is why the metrics is the way that it is. This is why the matrix is the way that it is. This is why time exists the way that it does. Because it's a way of creating parameters. And what do parameters do? They keep people in barriers or borders or boundaries. They keep people in something. In boxes, exactly. So the idea of being perfect is us attempting to climb into a box that doesn't really exist.
And you know what's funny is that the most freeing space can and is still, like, it still has those metrics applied to it in some way, shape, or form. And by the most freeing space, I mean like artistry in the sense of the common arts.
Yes.
Like, because I think there's artistry in everything, but yes, the expressive arts. And because it's still someone else's lens, someone looking through their own lens has to view someone else's art and says, this is good, this is worthy, this is thumbs up.
I got I got something to say about this.
Oh, I know you do. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I'm talking about like when there are painters or something like that, sculptures, it's like someone's just like, yes, I love that. And then this artist gets paid, and then they get to be able to, pay their rent, and they get to, they get to have supplies to make more art. You get what I'm saying? Someone who can't do it applies this metric to it, which is crazy.
Money. But the concept, okay, we're talking about art. And to me, I've talked, as an artist and as an educator, I talk a lot about the subjectivity of art as a concept, because art itself is subjective. The word art comes from, the English language, which is European. So naturally, it's going to be connected with a certain impression of what art is related to the people that created the word. So what I mean by that in relationship to what you're saying is that a person can create something, but it's not really given a value until someone else sees it and says, hey, that is a valuable piece of art. And like you said, they put a number on it, but it doesn't really determine how good the art is, because how good art is subjective to a person's understanding of aesthetic value in relationship to what it is that they're viewing. So my perception of artistry, or what I think art is, could be different from your perception of art. So you're going to value some piece of artwork that you see and pay a certain amount of money for it because you value that particular aesthetic. I might look at the same piece of artwork and be like, that's not worth anything to me. So I definitely agree that oftentimes artistic expression is hard to quantify for the artist, but easier to quantify for someone who is attempting to commodify or commercialize or package that particular art or that expression. But it's a slippery slope, and this leads into my own philosophical approach towards what it is that I create and transmit and then also embody. You'll hear me talk about being a lifeist, because to me, I'm inspired by life. I'm not just inspired by what some people call art. And what I do is I embody those lived experiences and aim to transmit my perception of that experience through my creative practice. So I call myself a lifeist in dealing with lifeism, because you can't deny that what I'm creating is a reflection of life. But someone could always say, that's not art to me.
And that's real.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and with that notion and staying in connection to our topic, this is what allows me to not really think of being perfect, because I'm not attempting to create art, which can be quantified by somebody else's metrics. I'm not attempting to fit into that box. I'm attempting to live, experience, be, and transmit within that being. And it's a challenging practice because, the mind and your DNA is programmed over time, and time itself is a relative concept.
I think it's a bit difficult with what I do, because in order for it to get into the can and for it to be done the way that we need to be done, everyone has to be firing on all cylinders, especially me.
Pause. Did you just say get into the canon?
Get into the can. It's an old term for completing a film or project.
Okay, got it. I just heard canon, and then it made me think of canonized religions and all. So,
well, you can go down that road too.
We don't have to. I want you to continue to talk about how it's challenging to put the same sort of quantification on the work that you're doing.
Because if I'm not firing on all cylinders, if I'm not operating from 110, 120%, then information may not be shared. Super important equipment may not show up. You know what I mean? It's, money could go out the window if I'm just like, oh yeah, let's just, hey, willy-nilly, everyone just figure it out. We'll just fly by the seat of our pants, it's just we'll just do the thing, and then we're way over budget, and it's those things can't happen. It's also safety. We have to practice, for instance, I do a lot of stunt work, and all of that has to be safe. If we're flipping cars, if we're blowing stuff up, if we're doing things with cars on the PCH with drones and Russian arm, everyone has to move like a fine oiled machine to capture this amazingly beautiful shot. Yeah. Because if we don't, then someone could get hurt.
So, Jewel,
You know?
yes, you're so right. There's a couple of things in what you said that I want to touch on. I think we need to look into the phrase willy-nilly and see whether or not we actually supposed to be saying that.
Oh, probably not.
I know.
God damn it.
I know, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
I know.
I did just like the last episode. I will remove that from my vernacular.
Well, we should look it up and do the research, but I'm pretty sure that's like willy-nilly is associated with is in the same lines as like peanut gallery. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
My other question was, because you were saying you have to be operating at 110, 120%. You know what I mean? My question is, how do you know when you're operating at that level? How do you know you're not just operating at 99% as opposed to 120? Where is the standard that you can equate that, okay, yeah, I was 120 on this day, I was only 99 on this day? You know what I mean? Like, where'd you get the standard from?
I think it's maybe two-pronged. Like, it's based on a feeling, like, okay, did I disseminate all the information? Did I make sure that the director's thoughts and needs have been communicated to everyone, including the client and the agency, receptive? Are we on the same page? Is everyone feeling good? You know, and making sure that my team, I have a great team so they can do their part. And, you know, so I pick a good team.
It's like being in the Olympics and getting that perfect 10.
Yeah, it really is. Right. And so it's like, if everyone walks away happy, then I know, and then it's a day by day thing. There's a saying in our industry, you're only as good as your last project, you know?
Yeah, I get it.
And so do you get a call back? That's how you know whether or not
the project was good, whether or not you did a good job.
Right.
So with
that's still subjective because there's personalities at play.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's about having a perfect combination, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like having all the pieces of the puzzle together that creates this perfect thing, and everybody has to be on the same accord. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some DPs who are really great at what they do, but they would not necessarily work well with certain directors because they just don't have the same vibe. And it's not that anyone is bad. It's just that I have to mesh talent with energy. Yeah. You know? So
I get it.
It's a very, like, it's always this game of like sliding scales. It's just like, okay, how much time, like, you never have enough time of the day. So it's like, I try to I don't know. The answer to the question is that I don't really know. I base it on how I feel and about what I've done. And the other side of that is feedback. You know, if people feel like they've been communicated with effectively and they're heard and it shows up on screen.
And that's really interesting in relationship to, you know, our careers. But I wonder also how this idea of perfection plays a role in how we relate to possibly our significant others.
There's something I go back to this book often because it's so great, and it happens to be sitting in front of me, crazily enough. The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the 4 agreements is always do your best. And then underneath that, the caveat is your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
Love it.
So that's like, you know, that's important too. I mean, I feel like I get that I'm able to relax on my perfectionism a bit more in my personal relationships because I can understand and allow myself to be wherever I am, whenever I am, because I understand that if I'm not feeling well in some way, shape, or form, that's different from when I am feeling at my best. And I allow for that in my relationships too, you know? And so I feel like there's a bit more ease in that because it's easier to communicate, because I think that when you're in a relationship with anyone, like across the types of relationships, the immediate understanding is that we want to work together. We are like, that is both of our sincere desires, and no one's trying to get more from the other person. We want to be equal. We want to be understood. We want to be heard, and we want to hear.
Really?
You know, I think so. You don't think so? What kind of fucking relationships you got, bruh? Or maybe do you think I'm being naive or something?
No, I don't think that you're being naive. I just think that my perspective is slightly different because of my relationships that I've had. I think that what you just said for me is going into a relationship with expectation that we're going to meet each other halfway and we're going to reach towards the common goal collectively as well as independently. I think that relates to...
Yeah, we're going to try. Yeah.
Well, I think, yes, we could, but that relates to the conversation that we had with relationships and identity. The idea of two people can experience the same thing but have two different perceptions of that reality. So we may come into a situation saying, okay, we're now going to start a relationship together, but I may be coming into that relationship with an expectation that you're going to fit a particular type of role. I need 50%, so you're going to give me that 50. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel that any relationship that I've ever been in has been that way. And I think that if I'm approaching going into a relationship thinking that it's going to have that sort of 50-50 thing, then I'm, again, approaching the relationship attempting to have you fit a perfect role within my understanding of the perfection of life. You know, the idea of being picture perfect.
Well, so that's not what I meant.
Okay.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
And I think that there's also a difference too. For instance, okay, so you met your wife when she was incredibly young.
Yeah.
Right? Which at one point I want to get into that conversation another time. And you all have been together for, you said 18 years, right? So that's different from like, okay, so my partner, we've known each other for almost 20 years. We've been together for almost 2 years. And so we have been friends for a long time. And so it's like, and I've grown. There's an age difference between us as well. I mean, I think there's like a 10, 11 year age difference. But when we started dating, I was already a fully formed version of myself. And so is he. And we've known each other as we've been growing, you know, as our individual selves. And so who and how he is, I already get it. You know, it's not that there isn't anything to learn, is that I already get it. And the same thing for him, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when we first met, when we first became friends, he calls me Springsteen because he says you're the boss. Right. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love that he appreciates and understands the strength that I have in my work and just as a person, and it doesn't make him feel insecure. Yeah. He's a very secure person, and I love that because he's very strong and is like, please don't let me disabuse anybody of the notion. It's not that I boss him around because he's not that guy, you know, but he appreciates who I am and how I am. And so we can have real ass conversations. So he's not trying to make me into this submissive, quiet woman. Not that there's anything wrong with people who want those types of relationships, but that's not who I am and that's not who he wants. I need to give that quick caveat, okay? We're just not doing that over here. Yeah, we're just not doing that over here. Yeah. You know, and so that's something that was really important to me in my relationship, is that I didn't want to be with someone who was insecure because they're going to try and make me small. Yeah. You know, so that's what I mean when I say that, like, understanding each other and meeting each other where they are. Like, we're not looking for the perfect version of someone else. We want who we're with because we know each other. You know, so you and your wife grew it, like, while we were already in your relationship to that. He and I grew through friendship to understanding that this is a great partnership.
That's what I wanted to touch on is you had those years of friendship and getting to know each other in that sort of platonic.
I don't know if we would have made it if we'd started as early. I mean, like, of course, I would have loved to have, both of us would have loved to have those years together. But I mean, like, I can only operate from where we are now and think of it as divine timing that, you know, maybe we wouldn't have made it if we started out earlier.
I think me and Abeba have realized that, like, if we didn't do it the way that we did, then it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
But that's divine timing. You know, I have to trust that, you know?
And but trust is a huge thing in relationship to your perception of yourself and what you're attempting to achieve in your life. And then also your perception of how you see your life with someone else. You know what I mean? Like, it can oftentimes, and coming back to your situation, it can oftentimes be challenging to see the person for who they are if you don't have those years of time and experience of getting to know them. You know, I have gotten to know my wife through the years, and she's gotten to know herself as well. I was a little bit further along on my understanding of who I was, but at the same time, I've grown immensely from the relationship that I've had with her. And my relationship with her has taught me more about the person that I am and really pushed me to exercise and actualize these things that I speak about a lot. How we said before, the idea of practicing what you preach. And my relationship with my wife, as well as my relationship with my children, has really pushed me to practice what I preach. You know, if I don't believe that perfection is a real thing, then I have to check myself when I'm trying to hold my children or my wife to some standard, because it's like, where did that standard come from? They're not even from the United States of America. How can I hold them to some standard that was given to me by, for lack of a better way of putting it, oppressor? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I saw this thing on the onlines where this it was like somebody's Ring camera was capturing outside of their front door, and it was like snowy outside, wherever. And it was dark, and this woman was shoveling the snow, and the husband came outside, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "What do you mean? I'm shoveling the snow. There's a blizzard coming," you know? And he's just like, "Why are you shoveling the snow?" She's like, "What do you mean?" And so he comes out, basically the be all end all is that he literally he takes the shovel away from her. He picks her up, lifts her up. And she's like, no, you're going to slip and fall. She's like, "Why are you doing this?" He was like, "Because I'm here now. I'm taking care of you. You don't need to do this." She's like, "I've done this my whole life." He's like, "But I'm here. I'm taking care of you." And he picks her up and puts her in the house, you know? And he's just like, stop with the shenanigans already, you know? And so I think that that's one of the things I love is that he says to me, we don't have gender roles in this relationship, you know?
Yeah, that's what you were telling me about. That's what he told you before.
Yeah, you know, and it's great, but it also allows me to be a softer side of myself because I don't have to brace myself when I come home.
But I feel like, Jewel, that is, for lack of a better way of describing it, that is perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but it's perfect because it works in alignment with who you are and who they are, and you work in tandem. It's almost like looking at how a bird, or a bee, and
an insect,
the birds and the bees in their relationship to plants and flowers, like they work in tandem. That is perfection to me. When you find the things that work in accordance and they manifest something divine because of how they're working together. And I feel that that's what quote unquote perfect relationships are, is when you're in it, it's working and you're manifesting and transmitting something that is beyond the capacity of the two of you because of the collective energy that you're sharing. And
you know what it is? You know what it is?
What it is.
Perfection is balance.
Aha! Now that I can.
There we go. Can we get there?
Can we get there? I'm gonna play another song, Jewel. I'm gonna play "Picture Perfect" by Lyrical. It's a dancehall Afrobeat soca tune, but it just vibes. It talks a little bit about being picture perfect, and that's what we aspire for: is having these balanced kind of picture perfect relationships in our lives, so that we can manifest the divine and achieve the purpose.
Yeah.
So we're going to play Picture Perfect by Lyrical. Stay tuned.
Picture perfect. Perfect. This girl. Perfect. Do it to me. Perfect. This girl. Picture perfect. Girl, what you doing to me? Bubbling in front of me. The waist of the right energy. Make me say, hear this, how I go start it. Girl, waistline is a target. Instantly have to have it. Don't know she name but I calling. Begging your pardon. Don't mean to be annoying, but every time you start performing, you have all the man them balling. This girl, picture perfect. Trouble when she turn it. Need your service. Waistline hot like a furnace. Girl, what you doing to me? Doing to me. Girl, what you doing to me? To feel the heat on your skin. Every time you whine in, you have me losing my mind. It's like you're whining to win. And all the rum I don't drink, it's really making me think. I could pull on your waist and start a brace. I ready for that pace. Hey, girl, give me that wine, don't play. You Hey. She whining behavior is a mix of Caribbean flavor. So, girl, do me one favor and don't try to put me in danger. Even girl rate her, taking out the phone to tape her. So, girl, you coulda make paper as a professional whining trainer. This girl win the trophy, number one on she jersey. Whining dirty, and she driving me crazy. Girl, what you doing to me? Doing to me? Girl, what you doing to me? Doing to me? I want to feel the heat on your skin every time we whining. You have me losing my mind. It's like you're whining to win. And all the rum I don't drink, it's really making me think. I could pull on your waist and start a brace. I ready for that place. Hey. Girl, give me that wine, don't play you shy. Don't run away. Why you feel the pressure me apply? Don't run away. Girl, you know I'll never tell no lie. Don't run away. If the wine too rough, I still go try. Hey. This girl moving in a way like something I've never seen. I don't know the remedy, but believe me, girl, when I say, hey, I want to feel the heat on your skin every time we whining. You have me losing my mind. It's like you're whining to win. And all the rum I don't drink, it's really making me think. I could pull on your waist and start a brace. I ready for that place. Girl, give me that wine, don't play you shy. Don't run away. Why you feel the pressure me apply? Don't run away. Girl, you know I'll never tell no lie. Don't run away. If the wine too rough, I still go try. Pizza move, don't run away. Tell no lie, don't run away. Baby, I go try, don't run away. Never shy, no lie, no lie. Pizza move.
Yes, that was Picture Perfect by Lyrical. Now, of course, we were talking about picture perfect relationships and them being balanced before we left. He not talking about picture perfect relationship. He talking about a picture perfect wine in the body of the girl. Which is a different section of perfection. And, you know, but still, picture perfect for Lyrical. Yeah?
Yeah.
So with that notion of all the things that we've spoken of in relationship to perfection, the idea of being perfect, Jewel just really touched on right before we went to the break that we both agreed on. Perfection is really just about balance. And for lack of a better way of putting it, to not give it a metrics that quantifies it and puts it on some sort of scale, even though balance is about a scale. And when we're thinking about balance within life, within existence, I oftentimes look at like the Libra and how the scale always tips. And they're always attempting to tip the scale in one direction or another, because I don't think that it's like enlightenment balance to me. You know, it's not a state in which we exist. It's something that we're always aspiring for, because things are always weighted on one side more than the other. You know what I mean? And I think that relates a lot to how we see relationships, because if we can accept that, oh, this person is going to give me 40%, then I have to bring 60 in this moment, then that balances that moment. But like you said before, your best is going to be dependent upon the energy that you have in that particular moment in that day, your health, you know, all those sorts of variables.
Yeah, because I think that's through this conversation, I will work on finding a way to transmute that and transpose that into like career. I don't know how yet, but
yeah. And that,
I mean, to me, my balance is that I can take a break whenever I want and to just recenter myself.
Yeah.
Versus having to
obligated in a full-time job. You don't have that.
Yeah. Well, it's freelance, so it's like
exactly.
When I'm on,
you're on. But you're independently contracted, so it's for a period of time, and when it's done, you move on to the next project, or you have a hiatus until the next thing comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I'm done with a project, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I want to sleep. Like, because that outgoing introvert in me is just like, yes, the introverted part of me is just like, okay, I need to I center myself at home, being still, you know, or going on a vacation.
I feel that. I definitely feel that. I think that for me, finding that balance is a day-to-day practice. You know, the balance of me giving time to other people and then me giving time to myself. You know what what I mean?
I think I'd love to delve into that a bit more, because I know that it's difficult for a lot of people to find the balance of being someone who cares about people in their lives and when to set a boundary.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, okay, well, when do you... I've figured out a lot of things. I wouldn't have been able to say this maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, but I figured out a lot of things about creating boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And, but sometimes it's difficult with people you care about.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, just let somebody figure their shit out on their own,
Yeah.
you know, and it doesn't mean that you don't care.
I want to speak about, because we're talking about, you know, giving to others more than you give to yourself. And it's interesting that this topic has come up and that you mentioned that, because earlier today when I was driving Uber, there was somebody in my car that was speaking about Robin Williams. And she said she was watching something that Matt Damon did, and Matt Damon was talking about how caring and generous and loving Robin Williams was. And I said to the woman that was in the car, I said, yes, he was caring, loving, and generous to other people, but not so much to himself. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I said, what people don't, you know, general layman people or people that aren't really involved in the industry, what they don't recognize first and foremost, that he's an actor. Mm-hmm. So actors have the ability to really exercise their public persona. And all we ever see is the person that they want us to see. We don't necessarily see who they really are, because when the lights go off and the camera's off and they're in their own dressing room, they're by themselves. Yeah. So we don't really know how they feel about themselves. We only see them outwardly expressing and being the extrovert and doing all these amazing things for other people. But
being affable can be extremely exhausting.
And that's what I'm saying. But also, you know as well as I do, because you're involved in the industry, that many people who have these really outward public personas and are really expressive oftentimes can be very miserable when they're all by themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Because they feel like take. It's like, you know, you can't like they constantly have to report their own.
Yes. Yeah. People are always taking, but they're also always giving, because that's part of their service to their community. Mm-hmm. But again, I think the importance of doing the self-work is to recognize that you still have to have balance within yourself, or be working towards balance within yourself, or you end up losing yourself. And I feel that the industry is a perfect example of that. Many people that get into the, you know, music, entertainment, and don't have a grounding of their sensibility about who they are, they end up becoming somebody that they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something that's something that I feel a lot of gratitude about my relationship is, would I tell you that this motherfucker was born with 0 fucks given? I mean, like in the hole with fucks given. Like and I love it. And I'm like, I wish that I could just like, you know, but I'm learning a part of that from him, you know? And it's like, and he's kind and loving and soft with me. Right. So there's like learning on both sides. But what I have found are the people I've known who've lived the longest are people who don't give a flying fuck, you know?
Yeah, and you notice that with old people, as people get older, like older people, they don't give a fuck about shit.
My godmother's dad, he passed away last year. I used to call him Daddy-O. Fantastic dude. Loved the hell out of him. He was like the grandfather I never had. And we hung out all the time. And he drank, cursed, smoked, gambled. I wouldn't say he gambled, because to me, I guess somebody who gambles is like that. Like if they have a gambling problem, is like they're losing. He was always a winner. You know what I mean? So like, this dude was always.
He's not really gambling. He's just a winner. No. He's not a gambler.
Yeah, he's just a winner. No. So he drank, cursed, smoked, and was a winner. Yeah. And he outlived 3 of his 4 wives. And I can only attribute it to, is like, it wasn't that he did not love, is that he was very particular about how he did it, and he did it on his own terms. Yeah. And he didn't give too much of himself. It wasn't that he was not giving, but he also didn't take any fucking shit, you know? And I see that in my partner too, you know, and I love that. It's like, and I wonder how they got there, you know? But they live forever. Motherfuckers who don't give a shit, they live forever. So I think there's something to that, you know, loving thyself.
I keep fucking in my system, you know. So
Yeah. I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
I remember one time in Philly, and it was like cold outside, and whatever, and it was like the ice and all this other stuff, and it was like, and I needed you to pick me up. And you were like, and you did so. And you were like, Jewel, don't ever say that I don't love you. You were like, I fuck with you, but this shit was not convenient for me.
Not at all. And I think I was driving somebody else's car. I picked you up in Jess's car, didn't I?
Yes, the little white car.
The little white one, yeah. Little hatchback.
Don't ever say that I don't love you. And I was like, I love you, Mikey. It was good. I was like, I know you do.
You know, I have this thing where it's like, I'll do it, but I'm gonna do it disgruntledly. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. You've been disgruntled.
I'm still the same way. Like,
I know you've been disgruntled since you've been in, but like that's the thing, is like you are that kind of I don't give a fuck, so you're gonna live until you're like 130. You know what I mean? Because you're just like zero fucks given. But you do love. You do love, and you do care.
I love hard, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love I love the people that I love, like, really, really hard. Like, I'll do anything for you if I love you, For sure. But I think that, but see, that's the thing. I think that's kind of like when we're talking about people who extend themselves, right, beyond where reciprocity is. Mm-hmm. I think that that's the line that they cross, that people like you, people like my partner, people like Daddy-O, they don't cross, they don't cross it for everyone. They will make exceptions for certain people in certain times. You don't give everyone unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
You love some people with condition, because if you give everybody unconditional love, then you may not have no love for yourself. That part.
And I think that's the thing that so to get into the perfectionism to regrets is like,
why you jump before we segue, Jewel?
Well, I was making the segue. I thought. Okay, how would you like to make the segue?
Oh, it's
Let's
fine.
Rewind. So, as we're discussing perfectionism, I'd love for us to get into how that can possibly lead to regret.
Oh, yeah. And before we do that, let's play a song. And
let's do it.
It's a song by Magic. I love this band, man. Like, I don't know what it is about these guys from California playing this reggae music that reminds me of the Police from back in the day. But they have a song called No Regrets. So we're going to play No Regrets and then come right back and talk a little bit about how perfectionism can and sometimes and often does lead to this idea of regret. So here's Magic with No Regrets.
The world isn't over yet. We still got a chance to place our bets. We both made a little mess. Nothing our two hearts can put back. I'll never love you less. Don't let you worry, second guess. We'll start over fresh. Living a life with no regrets. Living a life with no regrets. I got my issues, I admit that. You got some things that hold you back. But we are acting like we're children, looking to blame for what we lack. Before we lose everything we have tomorrow, can we forget what went wrong yesterday? Darling, the world isn't over yet. We still got a chance to place our bets. We both made a little mess. Nothing our two hearts can put back. I'll never love you less. Don't let you worry, second guess. We'll start over fresh. Living a life with no regrets. Living a life with no regrets. I know you're driving yourself crazy, thinking that time has passed you by. you're not lost the way you said you'd be. But tell me who is in this life before we lose everything we have tomorrow. Can we forget what went wrong yesterday? So darling, the world isn't over yet. We still got a chance to place our bets. We both made a little mess. Nothing our two hearts can put back. I'll never love you less. Don't let your worry second guess. We'll start over fresh, living a life with no regrets. Living a life with no regrets. The world isn't over. We can always start over. No weight on our shoulders. World isn't over, darling. The world isn't over. We can always start over. No weight on our shoulders. Living life with no regrets. Say, life with no regrets.
Wow, what a great song that is. Living life with no regrets. Oh, magic. So, you were saying before we went into the musical interlude of how this idea of perfection that we hold for ourselves can oftentimes lead us to regrets.
Yeah.
I often say that I aspire to live my life without regret. And I feel that regrets oftentimes are things that we have not forgiven ourselves for.
Yeah.
That part.
That's real. 100. Period.
And so with that idea, when we talk about living with no regrets, it's really about unpacking a situation that you've been holding on to so that you can forgive yourself for whatever it was that you did so that you get the lesson.
Yeah. I think that's something like there have been times, for instance, my perfectionist tendencies have led to paralysis.
Yes, make you debilitating almost.
Yeah, you know, which is one of the things that I love about what we're doing right now. For instance, you know, we discussed it, and then one day we decided to just jump, you know, and it's just like, fuck it, let's just do the podcast, you know, that we've been talking about doing, you know, and because the way that we relate to each other is perfect, you know.
Yeah,
and I thoroughly enjoy it. And working on this with you, honestly, is probably one of the most joyful and easiest things I've done, you know, if not ever in a really long time.
Well, Jill, I feel like we are attempting to lay the groundwork so that all the work that we do is this easy or fulfilling or this balanced, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel that the more that we start to really work for ourselves in the direction of the things that we really want to be doing, then it should be a lot easier, especially as we've gotten older and we're all experienced and, you know, we can apply those experiences to what we're doing now. I think that relates to the notion of not working harder, but working smarter.
Yes, absolutely. And the other aspect of the perfection/regret thing is sometimes staying in situations, whether it's work or any sort of like relationship, friendship, or otherwise, too long, you know, when you're trying to make something work when it's not, and you waste time because you can't get time back, you know? Yeah.
So I used to say this all the time about love is like a wet bar of soap. You know what I mean? If you hold it too tight, it'll slip out of your hand. If you don't hold it tight enough, it'll slip out of your hand. And so when you are attempting to make something work, you can oftentimes be trying to force it. And to me, love isn't something that you need to balance, or relationships aren't something that you should need to force.
Yeah.
And I have this other thing that I say a lot, like, you can't force or fight love. It just has to exist. You have to accept it for what it is.
I'd like to ask you, like, what your thoughts are on, because things do take work, you know, new relationships or careers, they do take work. And when do you know I mean, I know I've started to learn, for myself when is just like, okay, this is too, like, okay, this is a done deal, it's too much. But when do you know when it's time to just like cut the cord, cut and run, and just like, okay, I'm done here. Like, when do you know when you need to continue to put in the effort or when you need to cut and run?
Me personally, I feel that I don't cut and run very often. So, but in those moments where I have, it's where I feel like I'm giving and attempting to give in a way that allows people to truly see me for who I am and what it is that I have to offer. And when I start to feel as though there is no reciprocating energy towards attempting to see me for who I am and work with me, as opposed to creating stumbling blocks that are not allowing us to progress collectively, that's where I start to want to cut cords.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where I can't have a conversation with you and you can listen to me and understand what it is that I'm saying, not necessarily having to agree, but you get where I'm coming from. If I'm in a situation where I'm really putting forth a lot of energy and trying to make something happen, and all of a sudden I feel that the people that I'm working with or the person that I'm working with decides that they don't want this to progress in the direction where it's been going, then I have to reassess. Do I want to redirect, or do I want to just cut this right now and put my energy towards something else that I feel is more productive,
I concur. That was my big thing too, because like you can tell the difference between, when someone is doing their best, given whatever, versus a lack of reciprocity.
Yeah.
Reciprocity is really, really important to me. And so it's just like, I want to make sure that I am in spaces where I'm appreciated, and I go where I'm appreciated, I go where I'm congratulated, I go where I'm valued,
That part.
And so it's like, if there's no reciprocity, then no, thank you. Good luck. You know what I mean? It's not personal. Again, going back to the 4 agreements, don't take things personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering.
I need this book in my life. I feel like I need to be calling on it. That grounding thing that you can direct people to is like, read this. You know what I mean?
But the 4 agreements, the funny thing about the 4 agreements is that the book is it's not thick, but the vibe is so dense.
Yeah, the information, because it takes deconstruction. You have to deconstruct what is being said and then figure out how to apply it to where you are.
And because we are real beings, I have to remember, it's like, because we're all our own main characters, in our own story, and so sometimes things can feel like, it feels like it's personal when it's not. It's just that someone is dealing with their own shit, or they just don't vibe or whatever, but it's just like, it's not personal, and if they can make it personal, but my work is to disabuse myself of the notion that they are thinking about me all the time, because I'm not thinking about them all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how could you ever think about somebody all the time? It means you don't give yourself time to think about anything else.
Yeah. But I definitely think that my perfectionist tendencies does have me tend to ruminate over past mistakes.
Right.
And have that feeling or that sense of regret. But it's still about doing my best.
Yeah.
And I've had to come to grips with the fact that, like, there are some times where I have regrets because I didn't know something, but it's like I couldn't know what I didn't know. I couldn't have that experience, on this particular project or with this particular person if I'd never done that before,
Yeah, I get it. But again, coming back to, if you're regretting something because you were not as perfect as you thought that you were supposed to be, again, that perfection is based upon a standard that somebody else gave you. So as soon as you can recognize that there's no such thing as perfection, especially with the things within your past, and you embrace the power of now, then you should be able to let go of some of those regrets, because you can't get the time back. You can only live in the now. So what's the sense of regretting something that you did 15 years ago? You know, like
No, that's real. And it reminded me of something you said in one of our other conversations where it was just like, it sounds like someone's having a case of the Simpsons. You know? Simpsons.
And the Simpsons.
I love that somehow the Simpsons became a through line in this podcast.
Well, it just goes to show, you know, our generation, you know?
Yeah.
The Simpsons started when we were kids, you know? Mm-hmm. I still remember.
Little kids. It became a spinoff from the Tracy Ullman show.
Tracy Ullman show. That's where it first started. We were young when Tracy Ullman was on. I think I was like 8. So this is probably, you know, the mid 80s. And then when The Simpsons came, I think I was 10. I remember in the 6th grade, we made a time capsule because we were the first 6th grade class of this particular Saratoga Elementary. I remember. Oh my God. You know, this is in the early 90s. So we did a time capsule. And I remember in my 6th grade picture, I'm wearing a Bart Simpson t-shirt.
I was waiting for it.
And my best friend, he put a Bart Simpson t-shirt, I think, in the time capsule.
Oh.
You know, like, don't have a Bart Simpson with everything. You know,
Bart Simpson was the epitome of I don't eat my shorts. Bart Simpson was the epitome of don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Coming back to the balance of not giving fucks.
Yes. Yeah.
Bart Simpson, yes.
Yep. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Anyway.
This has been another very stimulating conversation about perception and regrets. And I feel that we both learned some things. We got some takeaways of things applied to our own lives. Hopefully our listeners will do the same. I just want to make sure that aside from you all knowing where to hear the show, Ross Mikey C Radio or www.rossmikeyc.com is where you can hear the playbacks and then also link the radio station. I'd also like for you all to know where you can find myself and my co-host, Jewel K. So my Insta and my name on all social media is at Ross Mikey C, at RASMIKEYC. That's how you find me anywhere and everywhere. And so if you need to get in touch with me for any reason, you can DM me on one of those social media platforms.
And mine is at Bright Jewel everywhere. And that's at BRIGHTJEWEL.
Why? Because she shines so bright. That ain't just because you light.
One day I'll have to tell you how that nickname came about.
That's another episode altogether. So we are going to close out this episode of our podcast with none other than the great Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, yeah.
All
right. Rest in power, bro.
Rest in power to the Ethio-Eritrean juggernaut. That's the word I was looking for.
And it's real talk. Like his energy is absolutely still very present in Los Angeles for sure. Yeah.
So we're going to close out with No Regrets featuring Zeke and Nipsey Hussle. Until the next time, Jewel K, I love you always. And this has been What You Say with Jewel K.
And Dr. Ross Mikey C. I love you too, pal.
All right, we'll speak soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Fuck diss tracks, you get your shit splat. Before you ever heard me rap, I had to spit crack. Slimy rocks crashed, thought they find me shot. Or doing numbers like Def Jam in the 90s, but much to their surprise, I'm the fucking flies. In the Chevy playing Pac, nigga, still I rise. Blue rag around my forehead, cold red. Slauson Ave infiltrate rap to take more bread. Quote how you want, I just roll a blunt. I'm sipping lean in first class, get my shoulders rubbed. Streets talking, so I'm listening with a loaded gun. Still all I hear is niggas saying I'm the chosen one. Champagne, open one, watch it overrun. I heard him say a drunk mind, speak a sober tongue. We still adjusting to the changes. I been getting money, but it's different when you famous. And big niggas famous, but it's different when you banging. All these niggas hating, all these police trying to hang you. What should you do? Decisions, your blood racing. Fresh out the county, trying to go platinum on probation. But no regrets, my nigga, just smoke greatness. Swore to soak it all out. Double back from both angles. Artist that label, no favors, no thank you. And rap about it all just to lace you. Pull up in cars with blunts large like Jamaicans. Dickies from Bell Sales, white bras named Rachel. Never broke code and I never made statements, so the rules say mute all false speculation. Greatness fully, 4 words, self-made, salute me. A lot of niggas watching now probably hate this movie, but fuck them. I'm so tired of the same discussion. I'm worth M's, niggas ain't made nothing. Yeah.
No regrets now, got it off my chest now. Since the womb, mama knew that I was special. That's probably why shit, I'm on another level. Real never fall off, like fake bezels. Spirit of a rebel, heart of a lion. All that's inside me is worth all this trying, worth all this grinding. Cause I'm from the hood and we ain't scared about dying. Just want mine.
Success, I just want my fair share of life. And let that self-made, I ain't tryna hear life. Still proud of what I look at in the mirror life. Hyde Park hustle, half-baked on a Paris flight. I'm sipping hot tea before I hit the stage. Earl Grey, mother of pearl face. Forever I'm the flies, we fuck on Chanel sheets, count cash after shows. I spazzed on the globe, I passed all my goals, then I mapped out some more. On this never-ending road, I fixed flats in the cold, boy. Respect how I master my role, and I made it all happen alone.
No regrets now, got it off my chest now. Since the womb, mama knew that I was special. That's probably why shit, I'm on another level. Real never fall off, like fake bezels. Spirit of a rebel, heart of a lion. All that's inside me is worth all this trying, worth all this grinding. Cause I'm from the hood and we ain't scared about dying. Just want mine.
We're back. New episode of What You Say with Jill K and Dr. Ross Mikey C drops Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Ross Mikey C Radio.